Welcome back to a very special 50th edition of Components Breakdown. Today we're going to look at the newly released 2nd edition printing of Betrayal at House on the Hill. Betrayal is a 3 to 6 player game that takes about 60 to 90 minutes to complete. It is a highly thematic, very social, cooperative partnership style game with mechanics that include dice rolling, a modular board system, role-playing, and variable player powers. Now in Betrayal, the players will begin by laying tiles to build a haunted house. And about midway through, secretly, one of the players will betray the party. So let's go ahead and open up the box, see what comes inside this 2nd edition, and begin explaining the gameplay. Let's quickly go through the components so that we can get into the gameplay. First thing you're going to notice is a revised 24-page rulebook. There are plenty of examples in here, although there still remains some ambiguous questions even after the revised rulebook, and that's due just to the nature of the game itself. There are 2 haunt books, one for the survivors and one for the traders. They're very thick. They ship with 50 total scenarios. There is a turn or damage track that is used in specific scenarios. There is an entrance tile. One thing you'll notice is that there is some warping on the boards. This did not happen when I first got the game. They came on punch boards, but once you punch them, they seem to warp a little bit, and I imagine that's the same for most people. There are 6 characters that are used in the game, and they all come on these tiles here, and they each have a small marker on the side that will point to a specific value for one of their 4 characteristics, and they are double-sided, so you can play as either one of the 2 characters. There's numerous dice that have values of 0 through 2. There are small miniatures that are pre-painted, although they aren't the most wonderful miniatures in the world. At least there's something, and they are painted, which is very nice. There are monster tokens, and they are numerous. You'll see right here a set of 44 room tiles, and on the backs they have what floor they belong to. Very nicely done. These are a huge improvement over the original's tiles. There's various other markers that are used throughout the game, and these will always, some will be used in specific scenarios, some won't. They have some extra clips if you lose any of yours. And then there is a deck of cards. As you notice though, the insert is nicely made. Everything fits perfectly back. They've had a nice little cutout for the character sheets. So with that, let's go ahead and set up a game and show you how it plays. Betrayal is a somewhat difficult game to categorize. At the beginning of the game, it starts off very much like a cooperative game in which all the players are exploring the haunted house and trying to generally help each other with items and discover new rooms. Now, about midway through the game, it's going to change itself quite drastically and turn into something quite different. It shares very similar qualities to games like Shadows over Camelot and Battlestar when they also introduced traders. Now, what really makes this game quite different, though, is the fact that it is scenario driven. So when that trader is revealed, each of the players is going to look through their particular book and look at a specific scenario depending upon who the character is that found out and what room they're in. So there's 50 scenarios that ship with the game, which is going to make every game quite different, including the places on the haunted houses that you've found. So once that is done, the game changes quite drastically, and that's what really separates this game from either one of those 2 that I mentioned. Let's go ahead and start looking at the game and show you how it sets up. At the beginning of the game, you're going to shuffle each of the 3 different kinds of card stacks. There's events, omens, and items. Items are simply placed in front of you. Omens I'll get to in just a moment, and events are a one-time thing that happens. All the dice are placed in the center of the table. Each of the players that are playing is going to pick one of the miniatures, which is going to correspond with the color of a character sheet. So you see purple there, and you see this girl's purple. They will be placed on the entrance hall, as you see there. And then on their character sheets, there are 4 different traits. There is speed, might, sanity, and knowledge. On the left hand 2 represent physical traits. On the right hand represent mental traits. Each character is going to put their little dial on the green marker. So Jenny will start with 4 speed. And these can go up and down as the game progresses. If a character ever gets to the skull in either one of their 4 lines, they will die. But they can only die if the haunt has been revealed, or if the scenario has been revealed. So the starting tile is placed. You're going to have the upper landing which is placed, and you're going to have the basement landing. All the monster tokens are placed onto the board. There are two sides to a monster token. One side shows the monster, and the back side simply shows that it's stunned. For the most part, all the monsters can only be stunned. Some of the scenarios or haunts will allow you to actually kill monsters. There is a very large stack of haunted house tiles, which are shuffled and placed on the board. And then there's numerous other markers that will be used throughout the game, such as item markers, secret staircase markers. So, as the game begins, as I said, each of the characters is going to pick one of the characters and place them on their entrance hall. On your turn, you're allowed to do a couple different actions. You're allowed to move, you're allowed to discover a new room, you can use an item or an omen card that you have, you can attempt a die roll, or you can make an attack. So let's start off by showing you what movement looks like. On your turn, you're allowed to move an X number of tiles, depending upon your speed. So looking at Jenny again, she has a speed of 4, so she can move 4 spaces. So say she wants to move into this area here, which is undiscovered. She would move 1, 2, and she would look at the top haunted house tile. Now this is an upper room floor, and right now she's on the ground floor, so she'd simply discard that one face down and look at the next one, which is a ground. Logistically, they have to make sense, so you have to place that where a door is going to meet into a door. And you'll notice there is a event card marker on here. So she's going to draw an event card and do whatever that event card says. Now she can't move any more of her spaces because she drew a card that turn. Otherwise, if she had not drawn a card, or if it's a room that's already been explored, she could keep moving up to her allotted space. Battles happen and trait rolls will happen by looking at the dice rolls. Now, to explain that briefly, if you're doing say a sanity trait roll, her sanity is a 4. So you would roll 4 dice, and however many pips show up, such as 5 here, you would compare that to whatever the trait roll is. Doing battles, you would roll X number of dice. More than likely it's going to be a battle of might, so she would roll 4 dice, and you would look at the number of pips that show up compared to whoever she is battling. More than likely it's a monster or the traitor, and whoever has the most pips wins the battle, and the other person takes X number of damage. The X number of damage is the difference between your roll and the opponent's roll. So that is basically the way that Betrayal at House on the Hill works. There's a lot of little small nuance rules that will come into play, but it's a very thematic game. It's a very cooperative game, especially once the haunt gets revealed. You're trying to meet an objective as a group. This plays extremely well with 5 and 6 players, where one person's going to be a traitor and the other ones are trying to simply survive, get out of the house, or try to meet a specific objective. I like this game a lot more than I do Shadows over Camelot, because I think it brings something new thematically than what Shadows does, or even what Battlestar does. Battlestar is a very, very good game. It's a very nice cooperative game, but it tends to run a little bit long, and it's a little bit excessive in its rules, where I find that Betrayal plays in a very quick amount of time, about 60 to 90 minutes, and has a thematic appeal that I tend to like. So that is Betrayal at House on the Hill. If you enjoy cooperative games with a little bit of combat, a little bit of luck, and a lot of role-playing, definitely take a look and pick it up. Thanks again for watching this 50th episode. So finally, after 50 episodes, I have decided to put myself on camera. I can say that this will be a very brief stint, as I fully intend on going back to filming and editing my videos in the same manner in which I've always done, and that's quite simply to take myself out of the equation, open up the boxes, and let the games really speak for themselves. Now, as I initially promised, there are 2 games that I'm giving away for those who have entered the contest. The first being Betrayal at House on the Hill, and the second game is Castle Ravenloft, and there's 2 reasons why I decided upon this game. The first reason is that it's simply October right now, and it's a great game for the Halloween season. The second reason, and more importantly, is it's a game that's been on the hotness list for the past 4 weeks, and deservedly so. I've done 2 component breakdowns on it, looked at all the components, taken a look at the gameplay, and it's something that I think will have legs over the next couple years with the expansions that we'll be releasing. So, with that, let's go ahead and wrap this up by saying thank you to each of you who have participated in this endeavor, and look forward to another 50 videos soon. Thanks.